Okay, so I'm here with Randy Mott, representing Under the G. Randy Mott is a Pleasant Grove Junior High band teacher, and he has had a profound influence on, gosh, this must be a couple thousand students, maybe more, over the years. He's been a band teacher here at Pleasant Grove for 22 years, and so I just want to ask him a few questions here. Randy, so tell me, how did you end up in Pleasant Grove?
Oh, that's a good question. So when I graduated from BYU in 1999, then I worked for a company called Keith Jorgensen Music. It's in Orem, and I was a representative where I'd go travel around the Wasatch Front here and just bring instruments to schools. And I found out that Pleasant Grove, I actually graduated with a teaching degree, and so I was looking for a job, but I found out Pleasant Grove was hiring, and I came and interviewed for that. And the other candidate that was being interviewed with me was my same age. We both graduated together. Same situation. We both had kids. And we walked out of the interview because we were both teaching. And he said, hey, where do you, because Provo School District was hiring also. And he goes, hey, where do you want to work? Do you want to work here or Provo? And I said, oh, I would love to work in Pleasant Grove. And he goes, oh, that's good because I really want to work in Provo. So he said, why don't you take this job and I'll take the one at Provo. So we went in and talked with the principal about that, and he was like, great, that's what I was thinking too. So that worked out pretty well.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I'm so glad that you're here in Pleasant Grove. So Randy here has truly had a huge influence on this community. There are literally thousands of kids out there that love Randy and appreciate the things that he's taught them, and even my family has been influenced by him. They've become very much musically inclined because of not only Randy but a few others here at the high school that have just really influenced their lives. So Randy, I got a couple more questions for you. You mentioned something about breaking your students into 3 different classes. Tell us the thought process behind that, why you do it, and how efficient and effective that is.
Oh, you bet. It's one of my favorite things about working here at Pleasant Grove Junior High is working with the beginning students in smaller size classes makes it so that I can help them in a more one-on-one environment and help them develop their skills faster. So we have our beginning brass, beginning woodwinds, and beginning percussion students split into 3 different classes. And some schools, it's unique because some schools have a beginning band class. And in that beginning band class, you have, from the front to the back, you have flute, oboe, clarinet, saxophones, trumpet, trombone, baritone, tuba, and percussionists. And all those kids in one class. And so there's a major variety of needs that need to happen. That's like having, in some ways, almost like having kids in like a basic beginning math up through, advanced geometry, probably, or maybe even into some calculus level classes, all in one level of needs that they need to be met with different types of understanding and help to be able to learn how to play their instrument well. I mean, if we're just surviving a class, if we just want to say, okay, kids, come to class and just have a good time, that can work. But if you really want the kids to excel and succeed as being a musician, then having more, what's the word I want to use, autonomous classes, like just flutes or just clarinets in a class is so much nicer than having them all spread out with one person trying to manage all those different needs. So it's a really challenging thing to have a big class like that, but it's really nice to have the smaller classes. And then at the semester, we do that for the first half of the year, and then the semester we put them all into one big group, but that's manageable now because they can be more self-directed with their playing and their skills. And so we can start putting music together with those kids, and that's what they look forward to doing.
Well, I think it's fantastic how you interact so closely with these kids and help them improve so much. Now, I've heard that Tom Reynolds is tied into the program. Can you tell us exactly who he is and how he is involved with the program?
Sure, yeah. So it's probably back in 2002. My principal, Rick Clark, at the time, was able to help us raise some funds, about $10,000, to get some steel drums for our program, and something we could do that's unique for our school. And I reached out to a guy named Tom Reynolds in Florida, and he worked for Disney in Disney World and did some of his own work on the side and made steel drums. And so I reached out to him, and he built us a full ensemble of steel drums: bass pans, triple guitars, doubled seconds, and lead pans, and built the whole ensemble for us and delivered them personally out to us in Utah here. Flew out, brought them out, tuned them up for us, and showed me some of the ropes about how to teach them better, taught our kids, and got us started into a really great steel drum program that's gone on really well here. And then since then, we've been connected with a guy named Alan Coyle, who runs a steel drum shop in Pensacola, Florida. And Alan comes out every year and flies out here and tunes our drums, BYU's drums, and some other drums throughout the state as well. There's only a BYU and Pleasant Grove Junior High. American Fork High School has a couple steel drums. Juan Diego Catholic High School has a steel drum ensemble, and West High School has a steel drum ensemble. And that's about it throughout the state of Utah. So it's a pretty unique program, and I'm really, really grateful to have that here.
Well, what an amazing opportunity for you to connect with those type of people and bring that to our junior high here in Pleasant Grove. One of the things that Randy has built here is truly one of the elite bands here in the state of Utah for junior highs, and he's truly doing an amazing job. And so thank you so much for bringing that to our community.
You bet. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, I've heard that there is a Darth Vader story. Can you tell us what that is? Yeah,
so this one's a little embarrassing, so a little vulnerability here on the camera. So at concerts, I always like to have the kids space, not sit shoulder to shoulder when they're performing. I want them to sit a little bit further apart before COVID here, right? I wanted them to sit a little farther apart so they can feel confident in their own performance as they just provide sound for the whole ensemble. So I walked up on stage, and I saw that they were sitting kind of close together. And you know those kind of like stretchy balls, or those things where you pull them out and it like goes from a small thing up into a big, like made of plastic or whatever, and it just expands.
Yeah.
So I had that vision in my mind that I was going to just push and have the kids all scoot back all together, so that we didn't have to go row by row, and just kind of like, everybody grab your chair, grab your stand, and when I push like this, just scoot back, right? So I'll use the force, and I'll just like and push you all back. So so I did that, and it looked pretty cool. And this was at a concert, so there's an audience behind me, and so we did that stuff, and it was kind of neat. And about a week later, I was talking to one of my teacher colleagues here, and she told me, she said, Randy, I have to laugh because I just talked to a parent who called you the Darth Vader of the junior high. And I wasn't thinking about that experience. I was thinking more about that expanding contraption, that thing. I wasn't really thinking about being Darth Vader or using the Force or whatever, even though I'd said that. And so I kind of had this like complex for a while, for about a week. And I was thinking to myself, dang it, someone thinks that I'm like dark and mean and like Darth Vader, like, or whatever. And so I was kind of had a little bit of a complex for a while there. And so I finally came out and just told my students in my class, I said, someone called me Darth Vader of the junior high. What do you think that means? And one of the kids raised his hand. Oh, he said, I know. He said, that means that at the concert when you pushed like this and we all scooted back at one time, it was really cool. And I just had this really just like embarrassing moment of just like, oh my gosh, I've completely misunderstood that. And I didn't even appreciate that. So I got a good laugh out of that because it was a cool moment. But I wish if I could have gone back in time when someone gave me the compliment of saying, you're the Darth Vader of the junior high, I wish I would have kind of been like, yeah, that was cool. So I've learned to take more compliments from things, I guess. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, that's great. One thing I want to really emphasize too, I've known Randy for a long time, and he truly is a very, very humble person. But he's won some pretty amazing awards over the years. And let's see, one of them was the Golden Apple Recipient 2 times. Tell us what that is.
Yeah, so the PTA, I think it's our school PTA, also with the statewide PTA, parent-teacher organization. And I don't know if they still do it anymore, but they just recognize teachers for something on the level of just being a good teacher or being positive or something like that. And so I was able to get that twice, once early on in my career and then about midway through. with that. It's really kind of a cool thing. You go to a dinner and they tell you neat things about yourself. It's kind of a fun thing. And
then there's a KSL Zions Bank teacher feature.
Yeah, that one was a really special one for me because it came as a big surprise. I was actually awarded that at a concert, and recently, and it was what it is a student had taken the time out on his own to just to write a letter and submit it to KSL Zions Bank teacher feature.
So how can people come and watch your performances?
Well, in the past, they could come to any of our shows for free. We have a fundraiser concert we do called the Grand Concert, which is our whole department, choir and band and orchestra get together. But right now, we were just talking about that in a meeting that we'll probably have some stuff online, but I'd have to let that be known, right? Because right now we don't have any concerts scheduled just because of the restrictions.
Yeah, COVID certainly is throwing
everything off.
Yeah, everything off.
Yeah.
And we're sure hoping that you can have some performances this year.
Yeah, the kids really want to do it. They were sad last year. It was really rough when they shut things down and we couldn't do 2 of our concerts at the end of the year, and I heard a lot about that. So.
And I've heard that you sometimes perform for local businesses as well.
Yeah. So last year we were scheduled to perform at our a couple of retirement parties. One of them was for our school district, for Alpine School District retirees, and they wanted our jazz band and our steel drum group to come perform. And then we've also been invited to perform at a doctor's co-op Christmas party with our steel drum group, and that was really cool to go to do that. That was down at BYU, so.
So if there's a local business that wants a performance, or is there some opportunity there?
Possibly. So the idea with that is it always comes down to what time of year and where we're at with our rehearsal preparations and things like that. Because I would say I wouldn't have anybody not want to ask, but it always depends on a few factors whether we can pull it off or not.
I've got one last question for you.
Yeah.
So I've heard of this legendary van that your family owns. What's the name of the van, and tell us about that?
All right. So this is I appreciate you asking that. This is it's a Volkswagen bus. It's a 1968 Volkswagen bus that we bought about 5 years ago, and my boys and I rebuilt it, and Lindy hand painted the outside and inside of it to make it look 60s bohemian style. And so we call it Betty Bus, and we actually were able to use it for our yearbook last year. So it's on the cover of our school yearbook, and all the groups in the school took pictures with inside and outside of the bus for the yearbook pictures, and that was really awesome. But it's a vehicle that we rent as a backdrop for photographs for people. We did our family photos with it recently, and
heard that. The governor's been in it?
Yeah, and we've actually, not the governor himself, we actually did our photo, we put a photo booth inside of the bus, and we did that for his guests at his gala. Yeah, nice. That was at Sarah Park last week, yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty dang
That was pretty cool. We've done weddings, and we did a party up at the Utah Natural History Museum up at University of Utah. We did their 60th, or their 1960s themed 50th year anniversary, and had our photo booth up there for that, and that was really awesome, because at both the Governor's Gala and that party at the Utah National History Museum, we had all of the guests dressed up in 60s attire, so we didn't have to have people put on stuff for the photo booth because they all just jumped in the bus with their 60s clothing already on, so it was pretty cool to see.
So we'll have to figure out how to put a link to that bus in our video description. So look there, and we'll get the link in there for you. Gosh, well, cool. Thank you so much, Randy. I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us today. And again, thank you so much for your contributions to the community. It's people like you that pull our community together, bring good to it, and help our kids grow and develop and turn them into amazing people.
I appreciate that, Blaine. Thank you.
You're sure welcome. Thank you.